Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be cutting some heat transfer vinyl and applying it onto one of these 100% cotton baby bibs. I'm going to be using the Loklik electronic cutter. The vinyl that I'm using is the Loklik heat transfer vinyl that came in the Black Friday bundle, and I'm also going to be using some Cricut glitter heat transfer vinyl. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to import the cutting file into the software. I'm going to show you how I broke the elements of the file down just to use the bits that I wanted to use, and I'm going to show you how to cut it using the Loklik cutter and then how to apply it to the actual baby bib itself. So if that's something that you are interested in, please keep watching. Okay, so I've opened up the Loklik software on my computer and it seems to default to millimeters. Now this is something that I have asked Loklik if they can change so that once you set it to the measurements that you want to work in, it stays like that every time you open it. So I'm hoping that that is something that will be changed, because at the moment I work in inches, and every time I change this to inches and close the program down, the next time I open it, it opens up in millimeters again. So where it says millimeters here, I'm going to right click and change that to inches so that my mat is in inches. I'm going to import my cutting file, which is an SVG cutting file. There will be a link to this cutting file in the accompanying blog post on my website. So if you go to my applelover53.co.uk website, click on the blog tab and then look for the thumbnail of this post. The information as to where you can get the cutting file will be contained in that blog post. So I'm going to come up to the top of the page and I'm going to come to the second icon along, which is import. Currently at the moment I've got this file saved on my desktop. So I'm just going to choose the SVG file and choose open. Now another thing that I have noticed, when you are importing some files into this software, they come in absolutely huge. So I'm going to click on it. You'll see that this design is 46.2 inches, which I'm sure it probably isn't in reality, but I have noticed that that seems to be another thing that happens with this software. So again, I'm hoping that Loklik will, remedy this so that things don't come in this big. This did used to happen to me when I used to use Inkscape from time to time. So it's not something that's actually uncommon. So you've got options. You can either drag on the corner and reduce the file. It all appears to be grouped. So what I'm going to do, the lock ratio is locked. You can see it's highlighted here in turquoise. I'm just going to highlight where it says size and I'm going to hit 6. And as I'm already set in inches, I'm going to hit return, and that way it's going to bring the design down to a more manageable size. I am going to resize it again before I cut it, but just to get it on the mat so it's more visible. So you can see at the moment now I made it 6 inches wide, which made it 9.2 inches high. I'm going to click on the layers panel and you'll see that all these elements are all here in layers. Now I'm going to get rid of all the black layers. So everything that's black within this design, I'm going to get rid of. Again, you've got options. You can either turn the layer off by just selecting the little eye icon next to whatever you want to hide. I'm actually going to delete them just to make the layers panel less fussy. Again, it depends how you're used to working. You just do what you do. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing for this particular project. With the whole design selected, I'm going to right click and select ungroup, and then I'm just going to click anywhere on the page to deselect. So now the elements should all be ungrouped. If like I'm clicking here, but it's choosing this, goldy colour and I want the piece behind. So it might be easier to come over to your layers panel. So anything that's black, I'm going to delete. In fact, I'm going to delete the whole number. I don't want 2023, so I'm going to select the whole thing and delete it. Sorry about that. Then come back to the layers panel, and now I'm going to delete everything else. The other thing I'm not going to use is the words my first. I am going to use my first, but I'm going to use a different font. So I'm going to try and select the words my first and delete them. And then now this should make this a bit more manageable. So I'm going to come to my layers panel. So anything that's black in here, I'm going to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of the black layer on the nose. Just hit delete on my keyboard. The black layer on the ears, black layer in the middle of the bow, the two other elements of the bow, the black behind the antlers, and then the word Christmas, which is in black. So this is what I'm left with. These are the layers that I am going to use, and these are the layers that I've just showed you in the introduction to the video. So the next thing I'm going to do is change the colours, just to make this a bit easier, because in this software you can actually cut by colour, which is something that the Scan and Cut, which you normally see me using, can't do. So I'm going to cut everything except the three sections of the bow and the nose. Everything's going to be cut in black heat transfer vinyl, and then for the bow and the nose I'm going to use red glitter vinyl. So again, I'm just going to choose the antlers, and you can see the colour swatches on. Now you don't need to have the colour fill on, you can just use the line colour, but again, just for the video, I'm hoping that this may make it easier to see and understand. So I'm going to left click in the colour fill box. I'm going to delete the number that's in there, and I'm going to type 000 000 and hit enter on my keyboard. That's now changed the antlers to black. I'm going to do the same with the ears. So if I choose both these elements, I don't get the option here to change the colours. So I'm going to have to do them individually for the properties box to come back. So again, I'm just going to left click twice. The first time highlights the whole thing, but again, I've not found that I can copy this code and paste it in here. It won't let me do it. Another thing that you've seen me do in other software is drag the colour swatch. It won't let me do that either. So I'm going to left click until I get the flashing cursor, type 6 zeros, which is the hex code for black, and then choose the next one and do the same. Obviously, once you've done this, you can then save the file in your design library or save it externally. It's entirely up to you. For the word Christmas, this all appears to be, one element, so it's going to let me change it here. And I'm just then hitting enter on my keyboard. So that's what we've got. Oh, that little dot over the I. And that's not changed the colour, so let me just do that again. So what I'm going to do now is change the colour. So what I'm going to do to make it easy, I'm just going to change the colour of the nose to match the colour of the bow that's on screen, but I am going to cut it in red vinyl. So the code that I'm looking for here is 73AC9D. So if I click the nose and type 73AC9D, enter, that's going to change the nose to the same colour. I'm going to bring the nose up so it's underneath the word Christmas, and then I'm going to come up to the top of the page. I'm going to choose the text tool and left click on the page, and I'm going to change this to my first and left click on the page, and then I'm going to change the font. I'm going to use a system font, and I'm going to choose Amity Jack. Again, I think this might be a Creative Fabrica font, so again, it will be listed in the accompanying blog post. Also, if you're interested in having a look at what Creative Fabrica is all about and the thousands and thousands of images, PNGs, SVGs, embroidery files, everything that Creative Fabrica has got to offer, there will be an affiliate link in my blog post to Creative Fabrica. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you use my affiliate link, I do get a little bit of commission off Creative Fabrica, which is always welcome. So I'm just going to move the nose up a little bit more. So this is how I'm going to cut the design, but as I say, the green elements that are showing here on screen are going to be cut in red and everything else will be in black. So now I'm going to drag an imaginary box around everything. I'm going to right click and group it. And now I'm going to take the size down by dragging in one of the corners. So I'm going to make it just under 5 inches high. In fact, I'll make it 5 inches high, which makes it 4 inches wide. And then I'm going to position it up in the top left-hand corner of my screen mat. So now, what you can do from here, you can save it into your library in here. So I'll quickly show you how to do that. So I'm going to click Save. Then you can make folders. So I've already made folders that are called baby bibs, bottles and cups and dog bandanas. And to do that, you just click the plus icon and a box will come up and you name it. And then, but for now, I've already got it saved. But I'm just going to choose the baby bibs folder, and then you would, in where it says file down here, you would type what you want to call it. So I'm going to call it My First Christmas. It saves it as an SVG. I'm going to hit save, and that's now saved. So from here, I now need to go and connect my device. Okay, so one thing I've forgotten to do, so I'm just going to right click and ungroup this. I want the bow and the nose to cut separately. So I'm going to left click and hold my shift key down and then try and grab the other elements and group them and move them out of the way and the nose. So these two are going to be cut in red heat transfer vinyl. So I'm just going to leave them in glitter heat transfer vinyl. So I'm going to leave them there for now. And then I'm just going to regroup the rest of this design because I obviously want to lay this onto my bib as it is and then pop these two into place. So now I'm going to go to connect device. I've already switched on my machine. I've loaded my green mat with a piece of the Loklik black heat transfer vinyl, which I've cut to about 6 by 6, and I've positioned it on my mat. So there's a couple of things to point out here. So first of all, I'm going to select the Bluetooth icon and let it locate my machine because I'm not connecting via the USB cable, but you can do if you want to. So it's found my machine. I'm using a 12 by 12 cutting mat, which is fine. You can see all the elements here on the mat. Now, because I've got this selected, it's chosen the black elements in this kind of layers panel within the settings, and they're the only elements I want to cut at the moment. I don't want to cut the other elements. I am using the Loklik heat transfer vinyl for this section. In the materials section, I'm going to scroll down and just choose basic heat transfer vinyl. The software automatically sets the pressure and the speed. I'm using the blade because I'm cutting and it only needs one pass. The other thing I'm going to do here is choose the mirror option at the bottom, and then I'm going to say cut. Now you can see that the elements that I had selected are chosen. Now again, I don't know if this is a bug in the software or if this is how this particular software works. But again, I've got a list of things that I've put forward to Loklik about, you know, things I've found in the software. And I'm hoping that, you know, they'll either come back and tell me, no, this is how it is, or we can change it. Because as you saw, I positioned the actual cut elements in the top left-hand corner of my mat. But when I mirror them, not only do they mirror them, but they mirror them in position on the mat. So I need to load my vinyl on the top right-hand side of my mat, okay? And if you're only cutting a specific size piece of vinyl, this is important so you know where to place it. So I've already loaded mine, as I say. So basically what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hit start, but I'm just going to make sure that my other camera is filming before I do it, because I'm about 10 foot away from my cutting machine at the moment. So I just want you know, to be able to see everything. So I want to make sure that everything's set up before I hit the start button.
Okay, so I'm going to hit start now and the machine will start cutting. One thing I would say about this machine is it's so quiet. Okay, so that's finished. Just one thing to point out, the black vinyl, as I said, is the Loklik heat transfer vinyl that comes in the bundle, which is the Black Friday bundle. And in the middle of the tube of this one are some instructions. So it gives you cutting instructions for if you're using other machines, and it also tells you how to press it, you know, so whether you're using a home iron or a heat press. So if you're using a heat press, which is what I'm going to use, I'm going to use my Cricut Easy Press. It says press it between 300 and 320 Fahrenheit, medium pressure for 10 to 15 seconds. And that is actually rolled up on the inside of the tube. So just in case you're looking for instructions and you can't find them. And in the other roll of vinyl, which is in the bundle box, in the middle of that tube, there is a kind of silicone sheet which you can use to put over your design when you're using your heat press. So just in case, you know, you've not noticed that they're in there, or if you buy the bundle, that's where they are. So that's cut. So I'm going to unload the mat. I'm not sure how well or even if you can see this, but it has cut. So I'm going to peel that off there for now and just put that on one side. And then I'm going to feed this back in through these channels and load the mat. And for this, I'm going to use some Cricut heat transfer vinyl. So I'm going to, in fact, I'm just going to unload that mat. I'm just going to position this face down in the top right hand corner, load the mat, and just go back to the software for a minute.
So I'm back at the software. I'm going to choose clear all. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to choose my little bow and nose, and you can see it's chosen them here. I'm going to go to cut. So you can see I'm cutting by colour. I'm not cutting the black that's still, you know, on the mat. I'm just selecting the design here, or you can choose it here. You can click, you know, the little box next to it here, but I just kind of find it easier to choose it on the mat. I'm going to go to cut. Again, when I hover over it, it doesn't appear to have selected everything. So I'm going to close that down, make sure I've got everything, go to cut. Okay, so I've got everything selected, but it's not grouped. Okay, you can see now all the elements are here on the right. I'm going to say cut. I've got two for some reason, so I'm going to get rid of one. So when I hover over, you'll see that it's moved it over to the right hand side of the mat. Let's just get rid of that again for now. I've still got mirror chosen down here. So I'm going to say cut. It's flipped it and moved it over to the right hand side of the mat. Again, I'm just going to make sure everything's recording over on my other desk before I hit start. So I've got everything selected, but it's not grouped. Now this time in material, I'm not using Loklik, I'm using another brand. So I can either choose other, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it on Loklik, and then in material, I'm just going to look for a glitter HTV. If I chose, you'll see that it's on 6 and 5. If I choose other and then go to material and type in glitter HTV, you've got to set the force and the speed yourself. I think personally that, you know, the glitter vinyl, which is going to be Cricut, will cut probably the same as, you know, a Loklik or a HTV. So I'm just going to leave the brand on Loklik, and I'm going to choose their glitter heat transfer vinyl so that the machine sets itself for me. I'm going to set, it's already on mirror. I'm going to say cut, and I've got 2 in the box for some reason, but I don't need to. And there it is when I hover over it. So I'm going to press start.
So now you can see that the machine is cutting the Cricut glitter heat transfer vinyl, but I'm using the same settings as if it was Loklik glitter vinyl. And that's now finished. How quick was that? So I'm going to unload the mat. And again, you might not be able to see that it's cut, but it has. One thing I'd just like to reiterate about these mats, they are very, very sticky. So if you are a card maker, I wouldn't be using cardstock on this green standard mat when it's brand new. Use the low tack mat that's in the bundle and try that, which I've not tried at the moment because I've not cut any paper or anything else other than vinyl on this machine so far. But I wouldn't be putting cardstock on this. You'll, not as it is at the moment, you'd never get it off. I'm just going to put the protective cover on it. I'm going to flip the camera and show you then from the overhead. I'm just going to trim this piece of heat transfer vinyl because I can use that again. I'm going to bring in my weeding tool that comes with the bundle, and I'm going to start with the glitter heat transfer vinyl. I've got my Cricut Easy Press heating up, and I've got a wooden board with my Cricut Easy Press mat, because I've already warped my cutting mat. I'm not sure if you can see it here, there's a hump in it where I warped it using my heat press without any protection on it. I was ironing some fabric for a sewing project, and I just literally put the fabric down and give it a quick press and it warped my board. So I've got a wooden board, I've got my Cricut heat press mat. While I'm waiting for it to get to full temperature, oh there it goes, it's already there, I'm going to just give this a quick roll over with a lint roller. Just give this a quick, just a couple of seconds press just to warm it up, and then pop that on one side for a minute. Now, this is a trick that I've shown in a recent video and it really does work. I'm just going to warm up my mat, pop my vinyl into the warm space, and I'm going to peel this away, and the vinyl weeds so easy when you warm it up like this. And considering I used Loklik settings, but this isn't Loklik vinyl, it seems to have cut okay. Just going to make sure, these are some tiny little pieces in the middle of this bow, I just want to make sure that I get them out. They're so tiny, and then I'm probably just gonna have to rearrange this again in a minute. And if you can hear, Eddie thinks he can hear something outside, so I'm just gonna pop this back in the middle. But the stick is sticking to me from the heat transfer vinyl, so I made that look a lot harder than it was. So that's that, although I think I just need to move this over ever so slightly. There you go, so that's that one done. So let me get rid of the bits. It was just those tiny little bits in the middle. I'm going to heat this mat again. Eddie, sit down. Put the vinyl on it, let it warm up, and then start to peel. And I like to just try and keep the vinyl in the heat on the mat. If you're doing something very big or something that takes a lot of weeding, you may need to heat your mat up a few times as you go, as I mentioned in the video. I'll put a link to that video if you've not seen it. But if you keep it in the heat, it just helps you weed it so much better. And then another thing I like to do is just kind of jiggle the vinyl around. That kind of helps release. I find that you stick to the transfer sheet when when you're holding it down. That's the worst bit for me. But by heating up your mat, so like now I'm just going to give it another quick blast and put that back on it, and then this will start to weed really easy. Again, just wiggle it around and all the bits should come out from within the middles of all your letters really easily. And then get rid of your bits of vinyl straight away, because you'll be surprised how a stray piece, can get stuck on your transfer sheet. So now I'm just going to have to, there's a little bit in the middle of the R. It's the tiniest little bit that I need to try and get out. And just going to grab my little weeding tool and put that in there. trying not to get my head in the camera. There's a piece there. So it's just these fiddly little bits, and this is genius. Don't know how I've, you know, worked with vinyl for so long without having one of these. You just get rid of all your little bits straight away and you just drag them in there, and then you can open these out and tip it over a bin. That's what I did the other day with mine. So I'm just going to turn this over now so you can see now we've got the antlers, my first Christmas, and then we've got the bow. So I'm just going to bring back in my little bib, tuck that label in. I'm going to position this centrally. I'm going to cover it with my mat. This is already set to 310 degrees for 15 seconds, so I'm just going to give it some even pressure and wait for the 15 seconds. One thing I forgot to look at was whether this is a hot or cold peel, so I'm just going to see if it tells me. Yeah, it says peel off after cooling. I'm going to take that off, let this cool down, giving it a bit of a waft to let it cool down. And then peel this away. Just going to bring in this other section and just cut it apart. I'm going to position the nose and the bow like so. Bit of stray vinyl there, move that. I'm going to put my Teflon sheet back over, pop this on and give it another 15. Peel this away, and then I'm just going to flip it over, cover it with my Teflon sheet and just give it another few seconds, just so that hopefully it's all, you know, fully stuck. It doesn't need the whole 15. And there it is, all done. So, you know, very quick, simple, easy thing to make. What you could do, which I've also done, but I've not got it here, I also put this design on one of my dog bandanas that I've been making and selling, and that's been selling well. So, you know, don't just, I'm doing it on a bib here, but you could do it on anything, but it would work, you know, for both a child or for an animal. You know, my first Christmas, and it looks equally as nice on a dog bandana as it does here on the bib. So that's today's project, using the Loklik heat transfer vinyl, and as I say, this was Cricut glitter vinyl, but I used the Loklik glitter vinyl settings in the software as you saw me use, and you saw it cutting. So I hope you found that helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do so. If you have any questions or anything that you want to know about this particular cutting machine or about any of the products, leave me a comment under the YouTube video. Everything that I've used, this cutting file, links to the Loklik cutting machine and the Black Friday deal that includes all those extra mats and all that extra vinyl and everything, will also all be listed in my blog post. So you can see my website address here on screen. Just go over there, click on the blog tab, look for the thumbnail of this project, and everything will be listed in there. And Eddie's having a good old grumble at something. He can hear something out on the lane, I think. He's like an old man. You wouldn't think he was only just 2. So I'm sorry if you can hear him grumbling in the background. Anyway, that's today's project, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. Bye for now.